Look how far we've come, walking to the solemn sun.
Now that the pedal is on there, you're going to have to go ahead and take off the wipers, the wiper arms, this rubber trim piece right here, and take off the clips that are underneath it. Be careful not to tear it. There are these clips holding on the wiper cowl, so you're going to have to use a little force to get it off. I put my hand over here by the windshield and pulled next to the clips so I don't break the plastic. I'm going to be taking off these 3 10s right here to take off the wiper arm link. So going to have a 10 here and 2 10s over there. Alright, cleaned everything up in here. Next you're going to go into underneath the clutch pedal and see where the bolt for the top goes for the pedal. And for mine it's going to be about like right here. So I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole there so I can go ahead and reinforce the clutch pedal. If not, if you don't do this, you could possibly, well, more than likely you'll go ahead and snap your brake pedal at the base because it needs that reinforcement just like the factory one has it. You're going to have to reinforce the clutch pedal at the top of the Firewall because without it you're relying on 2 nuts holding the clutch pedal, and without it it will flex. Now I have the brake pedal here, the automatic brake pedal, but it's just like going to be a representation. So let's say this is the clutch pedal. You have the 2 nuts, 1 nut on each side, and let's say you don't have a reinforcement. So without it, this is going to be like over dramatic. But when you're pressing down on the clutch pedal, it's going to like flex back and forth. And eventually it's going to break at the base of the clutch pedal. So you're going to need to have that top bolt so it holds it solid in place. Alright, so that first hole I drilled was way off, so it went in crooked. So that one was like over here, you can see. And then I drilled a second one, which was also off slightly. And then I drilled a third one, which is the one you see right there, and that one is perfect. So to cover up those other holes, I had to weld some metal back in. You know, so I wouldn't have random holes and to give it strength again. So I did that. I sprayed some more of that rust protector for the bare metal. After the paint dries, then I'm gonna go ahead and put some quick steel on the top side. There's little pinholes in the welds, and I'm not even going to try to spot weld them. The quick steel should be just fine. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna front with you guys, nothing is ever perfect, but you gotta learn how to fix your mistakes. I actually had enough time to do the underside at the same time, and I actually had enough material to do it, but it hardened up right now. I'm going to give it a few hours to go ahead and harden up before I go ahead and put the bolt back in. The reason why the first hole that I drilled for the top of the pedal was off was because I didn't fully torque down the clutch pedal to the firewall, and so when I finally tried to tighten everything up, the hole had moved. And the second hole was off because, you know, I was just mad that the first hole was off, so I tried to look through the hole, the first hole, and drill the second hole, and that second hole was off. But finally I went ahead and took the time and looked to where I needed to drill at, got a punch, and then you know, just lightly tapped it so I could see on top where the bump was at, and then I got a punch and went ahead and tapped it down and went ahead and drilled it. I went ahead and welded up the 2 holes that were off because if I didn't, I'll just have water leaking in when it rains, and plus it'll just be weak. So I went ahead and got a piece of metal and just welded it and just grinded it off with my Dremel, and overall it came out pretty solid. I didn't get any video of me welding up the holes because I was just mad, you know, because 2 holes were off and I was just real focused and just trying to get it finished. So I gave the quick steel a few hours to dry, and now I just put the bolt in there. I bolted up the pedal up in there, and whenever you test fit the pedal, make sure to always tighten it. So I tightened it, and then I went ahead and I marked the bolt to where I could cut it because the bolt is a little bit too long. I mean, I could leave it as is, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just cut it just so it doesn't have that extra length to it. Alright, so the threads on the bolt were kind of messed up from the cutting tool, and so I went ahead and got a die, and I just went ahead and rethreaded, fixed the threads on the bolt, so now the bolt is easy to use. Alright, now that is done, I got the bolt cut. Now going to be putting in the bolt, so this is like a visual representation of what it's all going to be like. On the top, going to have the bolt, the washer, a nylon washer, which is basically just a rubber washer, and then on the underside going to have another rubber nylon washer, regular washer, a locking washer, a nut, and then once it gets to the pedal it's going to have a washer, a locking washer, and then a nut. Before I put these washers in on the top side, I'm going to put a little bit of Honda Bond on the bottom right here, and I'm going to put that on there, put the metal washer over it, and then go ahead and stick the bolt in, and then with the pedal in there I'm going to go ahead and tighten it just so it tightens at the right angle, because it can move a little bit, so I want to make sure go ahead and get it straight on, and then I'll go ahead and put on the other rubber nylon washer, the regular washer, locking nut, and then go ahead and tighten that the nut that goes there so it'll stay in place. Alright, I'm just going to throw some more Honda Bond on it now that I tighten it up. It's just so when it rains it doesn't leak water. Alright, now the pedal is all greased up. I greased everything up as it should. I'm going to go ahead and install the pedal. Also, another thing, if you guys can see it, I cut out the foam around the master cylinder where the pedal sits on. So just so that's not in the way, I just cut that out with the razor blade just so it sits flush with it. Also, another thing that I added onto the top bolt reinforcement. So normally, pretend this is the clutch pedal again. Normally I had the washer, lock washer, and then a nut securing it down. But what I did, going from bottom to top, I did a washer, a lock washer, and then a wing nut. So it kind of gives it like adjustability. So when I tighten it down, I wouldn't tighten it too much and kind of push up on the pedal and give me like a high pedal. And so it'll be off. So to me, it just gives it like a more secure base to bolt down to, because in my mind, I imagine it kind of like popping up a little bit. So just like sandwiching in the pedal in between just gives it like a more like secure anchor to the top of the Firewall. Alright, so next up I'm going to be wiring up the starter safety switch for the clutch on the pedal, on the clutch pedal. And so I cut off one of the harnesses at the junkyard, so I have the pigtail. It wasn't long enough for what I'm about to show you guys, so got the black wire, extended it, and got the gray wire. I soldered it together and put heat shrink. I will be wiring up to the starter relay underneath the dash. I'm going to show you guys once it's done after I solder it, but just know that the black wire will be going to the starter relay, and then the gray wire will be going away from the starter relay. Just remember, looking at it from there, got the black wire and then got the gray wire. Some of you guys might not have the wires, well, the pigtail wire, so you could possibly just go ahead and break the plastic around the sensor on the connector and then solder in your own wires into there. But I mean, this looks more OEM, just looks more professional. So got the switch all wired up, got the blue wire. It's the small blue wire that you're going to cut. I got it going to the black wire over here on the pigtail, and then the gray wire is going into the harness. Let me see if I can show you where the starter solenoid is at. Okay, you see that white plug right here? Right there? It's this one my finger's touching. It's right next to all these plugs right here. Just off to it. If you're like me and you're doing this slowly before the main part of the swap and you're still using your car, just go ahead and get the plug and put a paper clip in it and it'll start, instead of having to press the pedal and pick it back up. And also, you don't want to run a dry master cylinder because you might ruin that seal that it has inside of it. Alright, now to wire up the cruise control switch on the clutch pedal. So here's the pedal. The first sensor right here is for the cruise control. Now, if you have the pigtail for it, it'll have a pink wire and a black wire. The pink wire you're going to get, and here's the cruise control module right here. I grabbed the pink wire from the harness a few inches back. I went through the harness, just followed it and pulled it out and cut it so I could go ahead and solder that up. And then the black wire, I went ahead and extended it with some more wire and bolted it up to the some plate right here for the accelerator cables, and just went ahead and bolted it up right there. You can see the blue. It says to ground it. Now I don't know if that's enough ground right there. My cruise control actually doesn't work. I tried it the other day, but when I do get it working, if I do get it working, I'll go ahead and, you know, just put a little caption right there to say if it does work or not. But hopefully that's enough ground for it. But yeah, that's how you go ahead and wire up the cruise control. Now you might be wondering what that cruise control switch does. So let's say you're using the cruise control and you press down on the clutch. Now when the button releases, it deactivates the cruise control, so it takes it off. It's a cruise control cutoff switch. Now before you set the master cylinder on, like set the rod on to the clutch pedal itself, you want to go ahead and set the cruise control switch, because you could loosen the nut and, you know, make it go farther down. You want to go ahead and set that first before you set the master cylinder in, because you don't want to set the master cylinder in first and then move this switch, and then once you push it in, it's going to kind of be pushed in. The clutch will kind of be pushed in by the switch itself, and so pretty much you're riding the clutch the whole way, and you're going to mess up your clutch. And the same thing for the neutral safety switch over here. You just want to make sure it's adjusted the proper amount